Hello everyone and welcome back to Almost There, a twisted tale novel here on Disney Magic Attack. This is chapter 50. Let's get into it. Tiana wasn't sure how long she stood there, her body too exhausted for her to consider moving even a single limb. Had that really just happened? Was she actually finally free of Facilier? Even though she'd seen it with her own eyes, it's still hard to believe she'd eradicated him from her life once and for all. She spotted the rolled up sheaf of papers on the floor. She picked it up and unfurled the tattered pages, taking a moment to read over it. Tiana's breath caught in her throat as she absorbed the words, her heart thumping wildly as the enormity of the fate she had just escaped sank in. She could have very well signed away her soul. She gripped each end of the contract and tore the document in two, and she tore it again, and again, and again. Each rip was like music to her ears. It sounded like freedom. Tia, there you are! Tiana swung around, surprise and happiness lifting her heart at the sight of her friends. Charlotte led the charge, followed by Naveen, Lewis, and Lisette. What are you all doing here? Tiana exclaimed. Her voice held no censure. She was so happy to see them all, grateful they hadn't heeded her command to stay away. Charlotte wrapped her arms around her. Oh, Tia, I was so afraid for you. I went to see you when I heard about your daddy, and Lisette told me you'd left. I realised you must have gone after that awful man. I'm okay, Lotta. We don't have to worry about Facilier anymore. Charlotte jerked her head back and regarded Tiana, concern etched across her furrowed brow. What happened? Charlotte asked. He got out-tricked, Tiana answered, leaving it at that. No one else needed to know what had taken place in this room. Naveen walked up to her and gently cradled Tiana's cheek in his warm palm. He brushed his thumb over her cheekbone. You have been hurt, my puppet, he said. Tiana was surprised by the bright red blood glistening on his thumb when he pulled it away from her face. She had no idea when she had been cut. It's nothing, she said. I'll be fine. Are you sure? Lisette, he called over his shoulder. No, really, I'm fine, Tiana said. She turned to Charlotte and grabbed her by her shoulders. Lottie, your daddy is in here somewhere, and others too. We just have to find them. What? Her friend gasped. Where? I don't know. Fan out, Tiana called to the group. Search every nook and cranny. Facilier told me they were hidden in a room somewhere in this house. She pivoted on her heel, setting out for the door just to the right of them, but Naveen caught her arm and pulled her back to him. Tiana, are you sure you're okay? He asked. At least let Lisette take a look at these scrapes. His concern touched her. She was struck once again by how different he was from that self-absorbed cad he'd been when she had met him a year earlier. Despite her best efforts not to, she'd fallen in love with him then. It would be so very easy to love this kind and more considerate Naveen. Tiana's breath caught in her throat, and her eyes grew wide as it suddenly occurred to her that there was nothing stopping them from being together anymore. Facilier was gone, and with him the barrier, keeping her and Naveen apart. Tiana beamed up at him. I promise you that I am just fine, Tiana reassured him. She curled his face between her hands. I'll explain as much as I can very soon, but right now we need to find those folks the Channel Man kidnapped. She grabbed him by the hand and headed for the rear of the house. The structure was much larger than it had seemed from the unassuming entrance, stretching back at least half a street or more. Before Tiana could turn the knob of the first door she came across, she heard Lewis's rousing call from somewhere down the long hallway. I think they're in here, Lewis called. Tiana and Naveen raced to where Lewis stood. Naveen put his ear to the door. Mr. LaBeouf? There was a pause, then a cacophony of muffled cries clambered from just beyond the door. Yes, they are here, Naveen said excitedly. He tried the door handle, but it was locked. No matter how violently he wrenched at it, it wouldn't budge. Should we search for a key? In this house? Tiana asked. That could take a lifetime. Who knows where the key to this door may be hidden? Or even worse, what if Facilier had taken the key with him to the other side? Maybe we can knock it down, Louis suggested. Out of my way, Lisette demanded, pushing her way through. She reached under the cloth covering her hair bun and retrieved a hairpin, then stuck the pin inside the lock and jiggled it. There was a click. She turned the knob and pushed the door open. For a moment, no one moved. They were all stunned at the sight before them. Eli LaBeouf, Annie Mae, Georgia, Eugene, and Mr. Salvaggio sat on the floor with their backs against the wall and their hands tied together with twine. Ragged pieces of the cloth covered their mouths, preventing them from talking, and they were filthy, with dirt and grime streaking their faces. Big Daddy! Charlotte rushed into the room and threw her arms around her father. Let's get them untied first, Lottie, Tiana suggested. She, Naveen, and Lisette made quick work of untangling the knots and setting the five of them loose from the bonds Facilier had used to imprison them. Where is he? Mr. LaBeouf said, scrambling from the floor. It's okay, Daddy, Charlotte said. You don't have to worry about him. Tiana took care of Facilier. That's right. No one has to worry about the Shadow Man again, Tiana said. She turned to Eddie May and wrapping her friend up in a hug. She turned to Georgia and Eugene and did the same. I am so sorry for what he did to all of you. It's over now. But she stood there with her arms around her loved ones. Tiana realised it wasn't over. Her heartache was beginning anew as reality sank in. She would once again have to endure the pain of living in this world without her father. As she waited for the soul-crushing grief to envelope her, an odd thing happened. The grief failed to materialise. Instead, she felt joy. An overwhelming sense of peace weaved its way around her sadness. Tiana knew she would always miss her daddy, but the hole his passing had left in her heart wasn't as hollow this time around. It was filled with memories of the past year, the laughs they shared, the meals they prepared together, and the all-encompassing love they'd experienced every single day, and a true goodbye. Tiana closed her eyes tight, holding on to those memories. They would be with her always, just as her daddy would be with her, always. A muted rumble sounded from somewhere in the distance. Tiana tipped her head to the side to hear it better. What is that? She asked. The growing noise quickly became clearer. It was the sound of a jazz band playing and the roar of a crowd. That's Mardi Gras you're hearing, Lewis answered. Time for me to get my horn and join in the parade. I guess a little fog and green scum ain't enough to stop Mardi Gras, Charlotte said. Come on, Lisette, she said, taking the girl by the arm. We don't want to miss the floats. Tiana followed the others out of Facilier's home. The fog, Lisette said once outside. It's gone. So is that nasty green stuff from the river, Charlotte remarked. Sure is, said a guy standing next to them on the pavement, bobbing his head to the music from the band. Most peculiar thing, just as the sun went down, the fog rolled out as quickly as it rolled in. Same goes for that algae from the river. Sundown? Symmetry, Tiana whispered. What was that? Naveen said. Nothing, she said. She looked up at him and smiled. Then she tipped her head towards where the others had wandered off, following the marching band and crowd of costumed revellers as they made their way through the French Quarter. What do you say? Tiana asked. Want to join the parade? Naveen's brow furrowed. Are you sure you're not too tired? No, she shook her head. I've realised just how short life is. I think I should let my hair down for a change. She winked and held her hand out to him. Let's go have some fun.